You are still beside a broad lake in northern New England, where late spring holds the evening with a mild hand and a clear, pearly sky. The window beside you carries a faint coolness, while a box fan hums low and the air smells of pine boards, clean water, and damp earth. Across the room, one shaded lamp rests on a small table, giving the screen door a warm outline and leaving the corners soft and brown. Nothing asks for movement, and the quiet keeps its gentle shape around your shoulders, your hands, and the easy weight of the blanket. The porch beyond the screen remains empty, with a swing resting under the eaves and a mason jar catching a narrow band of amber light. From the lake comes a loose tapping at the dock, slow enough to blend with the box fan and the mild hush of leaves. The air near the screen feels cooler than the room, and it carries the green smell of wet cedar, shoreline grass, and soil warmed earlier by daylight. You remain where you are, supported by the chair, while the warm lamp gathers over the floorboards and the blue outside deepens without urgency. The pale light rests along the window frame, showing each worn edge of white paint and each small mark in the wood. The pale light settles over the braided rug, while the fan turns steadily and the evening air brushes cool across your face. The pale light holds near the screen door, where lake water murmurs and the scent of pine sap mingles with clean cotton and old boards. Your breathing remains unhurried. The blanket feels smooth beneath your fingers, and the whole room keeps the quiet temperature of a house open gently to late spring. Farther outside, the ferry landing lies along the shore, though it remains only a dark shape beneath the mild sky and a single dock light. A buoy gives one hollow note, then the lake returns to its small sounds, with insects beginning near the reeds and branches, moving softly above the porch roof. The night air smells of water, mud, and spruce tips, and its cool edge reaches the room without disturbing the warmer space around your feet. You do not need to picture a destination, because the landing, the porch, and the still lake are already enough. Memorial Day approaches on the calendar, and small flags hang quietly along a distant main street beyond the trees, their colours now softened by evening. Here by the lake, no traffic reaches you, only the low fan, the dock rope, and an occasional wing brushing near the porch light. The room holds warm wood beneath you, cool air beside you, and the familiar smell of coffee in an empty mug near the lamp. You stay settled as the last silver light thins over northern New England, and the calm remains open, simple, and comfortably unfinished. Near the chair, a folded work jacket rests over a wooden peg, its canvas surface cool where the open air reaches through the screen. A narrow stripe of lamplight lies across one sleeve, while the fan hums and water touches the dock in patient, even beats. The jacket carries a faint smell of lake wind, engine oil, and sun-dried cotton, familiar without asking for attention. Around it, the room remains warm, the window remains cool, and every visible thing seems content to stay exactly where it rests. When you finally rise, the chair releases its warmth slowly, and the floorboards feel cool and smooth beneath the soles of your feet. The lamp stays behind you, while the screen door shows a dim rectangle of porch and the lake beyond it, pale under the remaining sky. Its mesh carries the smell of dust, cedar, and evening air, and the hinge gives a soft note as your hand rests on the wooden frame. You move without purpose beyond the simple wish to feel the porch, hear the water more clearly, and let the mild northern New England air settle around you. The porch boards hold a little warmth from the day, though cooler air gathers between them and rises around your ankles. A porch swing hangs near the railing, its chains giving a small metal whisper whenever the lake breeze reaches beneath the roof. One warm bulb above the screen door touches the seat with honey-coloured light, and the cushions smell faintly of cotton, pine pollen, and dry wood. You stand near it for a while, feeling the change between indoor warmth and outdoor coolness, while the shoreline remains broad, darkening, and calm. At the top of the porch steps, the yard opens in patches of grass, flat stone, and old needles beneath tall spruce trees. The last daylight rests along the western edge of the lake, while a dock lamp farther down the slope makes a quiet yellow point among grey trunks. Crickets begin in the grass, the porch swing answers once behind you, and the breeze carries damp soil, balsam, and the faint mineral smell of water. The handrail feels cool under your palm as you pause, with no need to descend until the next step feels natural. You take the steps one at a time, letting each board settle beneath your weight before the next one receives you. Cool air moves under the collar of your work shirt, and the yard smells greener near the ground, where clover and moss hold the evening moisture. Light from the porch stretches across the first stones, then fades into softer grey, while the lake keeps a steady hush beyond the trees. Somewhere near the drive, a mailbox stands at the road, unseen but familiar, and a pickup rests beneath a simple open shed. The path toward the ferry landing is broad enough for a small cart, though tonight it holds only your slow steps and the scattered shine of pale gravel. Under the trees, the temperature drops slightly, and the air carries spruce bark, wet leaves, and the trace of gasoline from the quiet equipment shed. Light slips between branches in narrow bands, touching a coil of rope, a red fuel can, and the edge of an aluminum skiff. Your shoes make a soft, grinding sound, then rest whenever you stop to hear the lake moving below. A wooden sign beside the path bears the ferry hours in plain painted letters, though no one waits, and no crossing remains to be made tonight. The sign feels rough where your fingers meet its post, cool from shade, with a dry smell of old pine under the stronger scent of lake air. A small solar lamp gives the lower board a dull glow, while moths drift near it and make almost no sound. Beyond the sign, the landing opens wider, and the water appears through the trees as a smooth field of deep blue-grey. Along the shore, the light rests low across the water, leaving a pale path that breaks softly whenever a small ripple reaches the stones. Along the shore, the air feels cooler against your hands, and it smells of reeds, wet rope, cedar pilings, and clean mud. Along the shore, loose hardware gives quiet taps beneath the dock, while a frog calls once, and the trees answer with a mild leaf hush. You remain at the edge of the gravel, letting the view settle before your feet reach the first plank. The ferry office stands to one side, a small clapboard building with a screen door, 2 windows, and a faded map mounted under glass. Warm light from inside rests on the threshold, but the main room stays quiet, with only a refrigerator motor and an old wall clock making low sounds. The door handle feels cool and slightly worn, and the air near the step carries coffee, paper, insect screen, and the damp scent rising from the lake. You pass without entering, keeping near the open landing where the evening feels larger and cooler. A bench faces the water beside a trash barrel and a rack of orange life jackets, ordinary objects made softer by the blue light. The bench slats retain a trace of daytime warmth, while the metal arm feels cool and smooth beneath your resting hand. From the rack comes the faint smell of canvas and lake water, mixed with pine from the nearby trees and coffee from the office screen. You hear the ferry nudge its bumpers at the dock, a slow rubber creak followed by the thin tap of a loose line. The vessel sits broad and low beside the landing, painted white with a dark green stripe and a cabin window glowing gently near the centre. Its deck holds the damp sheen of evening, and a mild engine smell lingers around the stern, even though every machine rests quiet. Water presses lightly along the hull, making small, rounded sounds, while the metal railing gives your palm a clean, cool firmness. You stand before the boarding ramp and let the ferry remain simply present, tied beside its familiar lake and empty of expectation. The ramp slopes only a little, with ridged metal underfoot and a handrail worn smooth by summer visitors, grocery bags, coolers, and work gloves. Each step brings a soft, hollow tone, not loud enough to break the layered sounds of water, insects, and distant leaves. A dock lamp throws warm light across the first section, while the farther deck stays blue and the cabin windows hold a muted gold. The air smells of aluminum, rope, lake spray, and the clean cotton of your jacket as the cooler breeze reaches it. You cross onto the deck slowly, feeling the ferry shift by a small amount beneath you, less like motion than a gentle change in balance. The deck remains cool through your shoes, and a thin film of moisture shines wherever the lamp reaches across bolts and painted seams. Lines rest in loose coils near the cleats, carrying the smell of wet fibre and lake water, while bumpers rub quietly against the dock. Light appears through the trees as a single warm dot, smaller now, but still steady. Near the cabin door, a rubber mat lies dark against the deck, and its raised pattern catches beads of water in the slanting light. Your palm rests on the metal frame, where the evening cool feels clearer, and the nearby glass gives back a dim reflection without sharp detail. Through the door comes the smell of coffee, vinyl seats, old paper, and a faint trace of engine oil held in the floor. The lake sounds softer here, filtered by the cabin wall, while a small vent clicks once as the air settles. You do not enter yet, because the open deck offers enough room for the night to gather around your shoulders. The sky above the lake holds a wide band of grey-blue, with the first faint star visible near the darker line of spruce. A mild chill rests along the railing, and the air smells of cold water, moss, and distant wood smoke from a house beyond the cove. The ferry remains tied and quiet beneath you, with no schedule pressing forward and no passenger looking toward another shore. At the bow, two simple gates meet above the ramp, their painted surfaces chipped where years of boots and weather touch the edges. You rest near them and look across the lake, where islands sit as low, dark shapes, and one cabin window gives a warm square through the trees. Water moves under the bow with a soft folding sound, while the deck feels firm and cool, and the air carries pine, metal, and damp stone. Your route through the evening has no destination, only this gradual entrance into the ferry and the quiet places it holds. A narrow side passage runs beside the cabin, bordered by the wall on one side and the low railing on the other. The remaining daylight lies in a silver strip along the wet deck, and the cabin lamp warms the painted wall enough to show every brush mark. As you move, your sleeve brushes cool metal, while water whispers below, and the scent of lake grass mixes with paint and old rope. The passage asks for no haste, and you let each quiet section arrive before the next few feet open ahead. Halfway along, a folded deck chair rests against the cabin beside a galvanized bucket and a broom with a worn wooden handle. The bucket holds a small circle of reflected light, while the broom gives off the dry smell of straw beneath the cooler scents of water and metal. A soft breeze touches your cheek, and the railing feels colder now, though the cabin wall keeps a little warmth from the lamp inside. The ferry gives one easy sway, then rests again against its bumpers with a low, padded creak. At the stern, the view opens back toward the landing, where the office windows glow beside the map case and the empty bench. The path climbs through the trees toward the porch, marked here and there by weak ground lights that soften the gravel and dark roots. You hear the box fan only as a distant murmur, mixed with water at the pilings and leaves above the roof. Cool dampness gathers on the rail, the air smells of spruce and coffee, and you remain within the calm edge between shore and vessel. Before the cabin door, you rest beside a low storage locker, whose white lid reflects both the gold interior light and the blue evening outside. The metal latch feels cool, and the deck beneath it holds a slight dampness through your shoes. From inside come fan blades and the soft clock, while water and insects remain close beyond the railing. The air carries vinyl, pine, wet rope, and coffee as you stand within the quiet opening. The passenger cabin receives you through a narrow door, and the change in air is immediate but gentle. Warmth gathers around the vinyl benches, while the open windows admit cool strips of lake air and the smell of pine, water, and old coffee. 2 ceiling lights rest behind frosted covers, giving the cream walls a mellow glow that leaves no hard edges. Beneath the low hum of a small fan, you hear the hull touch the water and the dock line shift outside. Rows of simple benches face forward, their dark green seats smooth from years of coats, work pants, and children returning from the county fair. The nearest cushion feels cool at first, then slowly keeps the warmth of your resting hand, and light from the windows lies across the floor in long grey shapes, while the cabin lamp adds gold near the aisle. The room smells of vinyl, sun-warmed wood, damp jackets, and the faint coffee held in a covered paper cup. A small timetable hangs near the door in a plain metal frame, its white surface dim beneath the overhead lamp. No hour matters now, and the printed rows simply remain among the other quiet objects, beside a pencil cup and a stack of local newspapers. Paper rustles faintly when the window breeze enters, and the air brushes cool against your wrist while carrying spruce and lake mud, and under it all, the cabin floor gives a mild vibration from water touching the hull. You settle on the first bench without leaning far back, letting the seat support you while the windows hold the darkening shore. The office light appears beyond the glass, warm and low, with moths moving around it in brief pale arcs. A fan stirs the air above you, mixing coffee, clean rubber, old paper, and the fresh damp scent from the lake, and your jacket feels slightly cool at the shoulders, while the bench beneath you gradually becomes warmer. Across the aisle, a wire rack holds folded route maps, a few safety cards, and a faded brochure for summer cabins around the lake. Their colours soften under the lamp, with blue water, green trees, and red roofs becoming calm patches rather than sharp pictures. The rack gives a tiny metallic note as the ferry rests against the dock, and cool air moves through the window screen, and it smells of ink, dust, cedar, and the wet shoreline beyond the wall. Near the rear window, a chest freezer stands beneath a counter, used during busy summer weekends for ice and simple supplies. Its white lid reflects a broad patch of warm light, while the motor rests silent and the metal edge feels cool beneath your fingertips. A woven basket beside it carries the dry smell of paper napkins and clean cloth, mixed with the stronger lake air from the open window. And outside, a loose chain taps softly, then becomes still again. A narrow shelf above the counter holds a mason jar filled with pencils, a roll of tickets, and a small ceramic mug. The jar catches the cabin light and sends a pale amber line across the wall, while the glass remains cool in the evening air. Pencils bring a faint scent of cedar, and the mug holds the last trace of coffee beside the damp mineral smell entering from outside, and the fan hums evenly, with no change in its slow and useful rhythm. You rise only when the bench has become fully familiar, and your feet meet the painted floor with a muted, steady contact. The aisle opens ahead beneath warm ceiling lights, while each window shows a darker blue lake and a thin silver band near the western shore. Your hand glides along a seatback, feeling smooth vinyl and a cooler metal corner, and around you rest the smells of coffee, paper, rain jackets, lake water, and pine pollen gathered during the day. The middle of the cabin feels quieter than the doorway, because the dock sounds reach it through several layers of wall and glass. Here the fan sounds fuller, and the overhead light rests evenly on the floor, the benches, and a red metal first aid box. The air holds mild warmth near your face, cooler currents near your hands, and a clean scent of soap from the small sink. And beyond the window, reeds sway in low light without making any clear sound. A round wall clock rests above the front door, its face pale and its hands dark, though you do not follow their position. Each soft tick joins the fan and the water, becoming another ordinary sound within the cabin rather than a measure of anything. The wall beneath it feels slightly warm from the lamp, while the window frame stays cool and damp, and coffee, metal, soap, and open water remain in the air, simple and balanced. Beside the front bench, a wooden crate contains folded blankets for cool crossings during early spring and autumn. The top blanket shows a muted plaid in the amber light, and its wool feels dry, thick, and gently rough beneath your fingers. It carries the faint smell of cedar storage and clean fabric, while lake air passes above it and the hull makes a low, rounded sound, and you leave the blanket folded, content with its quiet weight and orderly place. At the forward door, the cabin narrows before opening toward the small pilot house steps, and you pause beside the frame, where warm indoor light meets the cooler blue from the deck and makes the painted threshold shine softly. The metal latch feels cold, and the air here smells of engine oil, lake water, wool, and old wood. Behind you, the benches rest in calm rows, while the fan and the clock continue without asking you to remain. Before leaving, you stand beside the largest window and let the pane frame the landing as evening gathers over it. The office lamp, porch light, and dock bulb form 3 warm points, each softened by moisture on the glass and the deep blue air between trees. Coolness rests against your knuckles near the window, while the cabin remains warmer at your back, and you hear water, fan blades, and a distant screen door, and you smell spruce, damp gravel, coffee, and clean vinyl. The door opens with a quiet pressure against its seal, allowing a wider ribbon of lake air to move through the cabin. It feels cool along your face and brings the smell of reeds, wet boards, and stone from beneath the landing. Warm light follows you to the threshold, laying a pale shape across the deck while the cabin sounds soften behind you, and you step out slowly, leaving every bench, map, blanket, and jar exactly as it rests. The pilot house steps rise only a little above the forward deck, with rubber treads that feel firm and cool beneath your shoes. A small lamp above the door spreads warm light across the handrail, while the lake beyond the windows holds a soft grey sheen. The air smells of painted metal, old canvas, coffee, and the clean dampness of open water. And behind you, the passenger cabin fan fades, replaced by water at the bow and a loose flag line tapping gently. Inside, the pilot house is compact and orderly, with windows on 3 sides and a single padded chair before the controls. The instrument panel rests dark, except for one low amber light, which glows beside switches, labels, and a brass key on a plain ring. The chair feels cool through your work shirt, and the room carries a mild scent of vinyl, paper charts, and engine oil, and wind moves softly around the window frames, making the glass give an occasional quiet tremor. Within the pilot house, the amber light rests on the wheel and leaves the upper windows open to the deepening blue. Within the pilot house, the air feels warmer near the panel, while cool lake air settles around your hands and collar. Within the pilot house, the smell of coffee, canvas, and painted wood mingles with the low sounds of water and a distant buoy. You remain beside the chair, letting the room hold its familiar balance without turning a key or touching a switch. The wheel has a smooth, dark rim, worn slightly lighter, where hands usually rest during daytime crossings. Under the lamp, its surface shows small marks and softened edges, while the metal center reflects a dull circle of gold. Your fingertips meet the cool rim, then rest there without pressure, and the room smells of clean cloth, old varnish, and lake air, and the only steady sounds are water below and leaves along the shore. A paper chart lies beneath clear plastic on a side table, showing islands, coves, and depth lines around the lake. The lamp makes the plastic shine softly, while the printed blue and black marks remain quiet and flat beneath your palm. The tabletop feels warmer than the window frame, and the air above it smells of paper, pencil shavings, and faint coffee, and a vent near the floor gives one small click as the temperature settles. Beside the chart, a thermos stands next to a chipped enamel cup, both ordinary tools from early mornings and cool, late spring runs. The cup catches a narrow edge of amber light, and its handle feels smooth and slightly cool. A trace of coffee remains in the air, mixed with wool from a folded cap and the mineral scent entering through the cracked window. Outside, a dock line rubs slowly, making a soft sound like cloth drawn over wood. The front windows look across the bow toward the open lake, where the last daylight forms a pale band beneath a darker sky. Islands rest low along the horizon, and one shoreline house shows a warm kitchen light between the trees. Cool glass meets your hand, while the cabin air stays mild around your shoulders, and you hear water folding under the bow, and you smell spruce, damp paint, old coffee, and a faint trace of wood smoke. A small radio sits on a shelf above the chart, silent now, with its cord coiled neatly beside a logbook. The radio face reflects the amber panel light, and the shelf beneath it feels dry and warm. Paper, dust, canvas, and open water shape the room's quiet scent, while the flagline outside gives another soft tap, and nothing arrives through the speaker, and the silence remains complete without feeling empty. The logbook lies closed beneath a brass clip, its cover dark blue and gently worn along the corners. Your hand rests on it for a moment, feeling cool cloth over firm cardboard, while the lamp lays a muted glow across the cover. It smells faintly of ink, paper, and cedar from the pencil beside it, and water touches the hull in a calm pattern, and the pilot house windows hold the dim lake on every side. Behind the chair, a narrow coat hook supports a rain jacket, a canvas bag, and a pair of work gloves. Their shapes hang quietly in the warm light, while the open window sends cool air through the jacket sleeve, and the gloves feel rough and dry, and they carry the mild smell of rope, fuel, and lake spray. A hinge gives a tiny sound when the ferry shifts against the dock. Then the room returns to its steady hush. You lower yourself into the operator's chair, not to begin a crossing, but simply to rest within the view it offers. The cushion gives gently and holds a little stored warmth, while cool air gathers near the windows around your face. Amber light rests over the panel, and the lake beyond remains silver blue beneath the deepening sky. And coffee, canvas, paint, and water remain close, while the bow makes soft sounds against the small evening ripples. From this chair, the landing appears framed by the side window, with the office, bench, and life jacket rack resting under separate pools of warm light. The gravel path is nearly grey, and the porch light glows through branches farther uphill. The chair supports your back. The window air feels cool on your cheek, and the room smells of paper and damp rope, and a moth touches the outside glass with a faint dry tick, then drifts away. You remain until the amber panel light seems brighter than the fading sky, though no clear moment marks the change. The room grows cooler near the windows, while the chair keeps its steady warmth, and the wheel stays smooth beneath your hand. Outside, insects gather in the reeds, and water continues its slow movement along the hull. And inside, coffee, canvas, metal, and cedar settle into one mild scent that belongs to the closed day. When you stand, the chair slowly returns to its shape, and your hand leaves the wheel without any change in the quiet room. You turn toward the door, where warm light lies across the threshold, and cooler deck air waits beyond it. The smell of lake water grows stronger near the opening, joined by wet rope and pine from the shore. Behind you, the chart, radio, logbook, and amber light remain still beneath the broad, dark windows. At the bottom of the steps, you pause on the forward deck as the pilot house door settles closed behind you. Its small window keeps a square of amber light, while the open lake spreads dark blue beyond the railing, and the landing glows softly to one side. The deck feels cool and slightly damp, and a breeze moves under your sleeves with the smell of reeds, metal, pine, and clean water. The ferry gives a low wooden creak, then rests quietly beside the dock. You follow the side passage back toward the boarding ramp, with the cabin wall warm on one side and the lake air cool on the other. Dock lights draw long, dull shapes across the wet deck, while ropes rest in dark coils near your feet. Water taps beneath the railing, and the ferry smells of paint, metal, damp canvas, and the faint engine oil held below. Each step remains slow enough for the vessel to settle fully before the next one comes. The ramp receives you with a hollow, gentle note, and the landing feels steady as soon as your shoes meet the worn planks. Behind you, the ferry windows remain warm rectangles in the blue evening, while ahead, a narrow light glows above the boathouse door. The boards feel cool and slightly rough, and the air carries wet cedar, lake mud, rope, and spruce. A frog sounds from the reeds, then the small waves return to the foreground. The boathouse stands beyond the office at the end of a short side dock, low-roofed and painted the same quiet green as the ferry stripe. Its single bulb rests beneath a metal shade, making a soft circle on the door and leaving the water below almost black. The dock rail feels cold under your hand, while loose boards give muted notes beneath your feet. You smell old wood, clean water, pine pitch, and a trace of gasoline from inside. A row of hooks along the outer wall holds a life ring, a landing net, and two faded canvas aprons. Warm light touches their edges, while the lake behind them reflects a thin grey band from the remaining sky. The canvas feels dry and rough, the wall feels cool, and the breeze carries damp weeds and cedar shavings. Somewhere under the dock, water moves around a post with a rounded, repeating sound. The boathouse door stands slightly open for air, and its screen panel shows the dim shapes of shelves and a workbench beyond. When you rest your hand on the frame, the wood feels smooth near the latch and rougher along the lower edge. The bulb above gives your sleeve a warm colour, while cool air passes through the screen with smells of oil, sawdust, rope, and lake water. A hanging chain touches the door softly as the breeze changes. Inside, the floor is made of wide planks with a narrow open slip running through the centre of the building. Dark water rests below, carrying small reflections from two shaded lamps and the pale doorway behind you. The room feels warmer than the dock, but cooler near the slip, and it smells of cedar, machine grease, dry canvas, and damp stone. Water gives a soft sound beneath the floor, while the roof boards hold a deeper quiet above. A workbench fills one wall beneath a pegboard, where wrenches, pliers, brushes, and coils of line hang in careful rows. The shaded lamp makes each tool edge glow softly without any sharp shine, and the bench surface feels dry, scarred, and faintly warm. You hear the water below and a small clock near the door, while the air carries wood dust, clean metal, oil, and lake dampness. Nothing on the bench needs attention tonight. Near the bench, a boat motor rests on a low stand beneath a canvas cover, its shape broad and familiar in the amber light. The canvas feels cool and slightly stiff, and it holds the dry smell of storage beside the stronger sense of grease and cedar boards. A narrow window above it shows the lake as a dark blue strip, with insects sounding faintly beyond the glass. The floor remains solid and cool under your shoes. A shelf holds glass jars of screws, washers, cotter pins, and small brass fittings, all sorted without hurry over many quiet seasons. Each jar catches a warm point from the lamp, while the metal inside stays dull and still. The glass feels cool, and the wooden shelf carries the scent of pine resin, dust, and a little oil. Beneath it, water moves under the building with a slow, low brushing sound. At the far end, a narrow skiff rests in the slip, tied loosely between two posts and covered with a dark green tarp. The lamps lay broad amber patches across the tarp, while the uncovered bow shows a smooth line of worn aluminum. Cool air rises from the water, and touches your hands, bringing the smell of wet rope, lake weeds, and cold metal. The skiff nudges one bumper, making a mild rubber sound, then rests again. You sit on a wooden stool beside the slip, where the bench lamp reaches your knees, and the doorway keeps a blue square behind you. The stool feels firm and warm at its centre, while cooler air gathers along the floor and around your ankles. Cedar, canvas, grease, and water remain in the air, and their familiar weight makes the room feel settled. The skiff line creaks lightly, joined by insects outside and the small clock near the door. From the stool, you can see the ferry through the open doorway, broad and quiet beneath its dock lights. Its cabin windows glow like plain household windows, and the ramp forms a low silver line between vessel and shore. The boathouse lamp warms one side of your face, while lake air cools the other and carries pine, mud, and rope. Water sounds arrive from both the slip and the landing, overlapping without becoming loud. A box fan stands on a shelf near the rafters, turned off now, with dust softened by the low amber light. Beside it rests a stack of folded shop towels and an old radio with a rounded dial. The towels smell of clean cotton and faint machine oil, while the room remains cool near the water and warmer under the lamps. You hear the roof settle, the clock move, and the skiff brush its bumper with almost no force. You remain on the stool as the doorway darkens from blue to charcoal, and the warm lamps become the clearest shapes in the room. The workbench, covered motor, glass jars, and tarp all hold their places without asking to be used. Coolness gathers around your hands, while the stool retains warmth, and the air smells of cedar, grease, damp rope, and lake water. Outside, the ferry line and the reeds make a few soft sounds, evenly spaced. When you rise, the stool gives one faint scrape and then stands quiet beside the slip. You pass the workbench without touching the tools, and the warm light follows across the floor until the screen door opens toward cooler air. Behind you remain the skiff, the jars, the covered motor, and the low sound of water under the planks. Ahead, the dock is dark and mild, smelling of wet wood, spruce, and the open lake. Outside the boathouse, the dock has lost nearly all of its blue colour, and the shaded bulb becomes a small, warm island behind you. The rail feels colder now, with moisture gathering beneath your palm, while the air smells of spruce, wet boards, and dark lake water. Insects sound more lightly among the reeds, and the ferry rests ahead, with only its cabin windows and dock lights clearly visible. Your steps slow further as the night settles evenly over the landing. You pass the office, where the refrigerator motor hums behind the screen door and the wall clock makes a soft sound within. One lamp remains above the desk, laying warm light across a coffee mug, folded newspaper, and ring of ferry keys. The threshold feels cool through your shoes, and the air near the screen carries paper, coffee, pine, and damp gravel. You do not enter, and the quiet office stays beside you as you follow the path uphill. The gravel path shows only where the small ground lights reach it, each weak circle fading gently into roots, moss, and fallen needles. Cool air rests against your face, while the stones feel firm underfoot and the trees hold the smell of balsam and damp bark. Behind you, water and dock hardware become softer, blending with crickets and the low-leaf movement overhead. The porch lamp waits through the trunks, warm, steady, and no brighter than it needs to be. Now the water sounds farther away, though its low movement still reaches between the trees. Now the water reflects only the dock lamps and one pale opening in the clouded sky. Now the water carries a cool smell through the spruce, mixed with moss, gravel, and the faint coffee on your sleeve. You continue at an easy pace, feeling the night air at your hands and the stored warmth that remains inside your work jacket. Near the equipment shed, the pickup sits with its dark windows, reflecting a narrow line from the porch lamp. The metal side feels cool, and the wooden boards in the pickup bed smell of pine dust, rope, and dry soil. A chain rests without moving near the tailgate, while crickets and distant water make the only clear sounds. You pass between the shed and the yard, where grass brushes lightly against your shoes and holds the cooler dampness of night. The mailbox at the end of the drive remains beyond the trees, a small unseen part of the road and the quiet homes scattered around the lake. No engine passes, and no headlight enters the yard. Only the porch lamp softens the grass ahead, while the breeze touches your cheek and carries clover, wet earth, spruce, and a mild trace of wood smoke. The ground feels level beneath you, and the house settles into view with its screen door and still porch swing. At the foot of the porch steps, you pause while the warm bulb above the door reaches across the railing and the first few boards. The rest of the porch remains brown and soft, with the swing hanging in shadow and the screen showing the lamp inside. Cool grass touches the edge of your shoe, and the air smells of cotton cushions, pine pollen, lake dampness, and old wood. The swing chain gives one quiet note as the breeze moves beneath the roof. The steps feel warmer than the path, holding a little shelter from the night air beneath the porch roof. Your hand rests on the smooth rail, and the bulb gives the skin a muted gold, while the yard remains deep grey beyond it. Crickets sound from the grass, the lake murmurs farther below, and the screen door shifts faintly in its frame. Dry boards, clean cotton, coffee, and cool spruce air gather around you. You settle on the porch swing, letting the seat receive your weight without setting it into any real motion. The cushion feels cool at first, then warmer beneath you, while the chains hold a soft metallic chill near your hand. Light from the porch bulb falls across one sleeve and the edge of the floor, leaving the yard broad and dark. You hear the lake, the insects, and the box fan inside, and you smell pine, cloth, and damp earth. The swing moves once by a small amount and then rests beneath the eaves. Warm light stays above your shoulder, while cooler air gathers near your feet and along the open side of the porch. The box fan keeps its low sound behind the screen, blending with leaves and far water. Cotton, cedar, old paint, and the green smell of late spring remain close as your hands rest loosely beside you. After a while, you stand and open the screen door with only a soft pull against the spring. The room receives you with warmer air, amber lamplight, and the familiar hum of the fan near the window. The floorboards feel smooth and mild beneath your feet, while the open screen still carries lake water, spruce, and damp soil into the house. Behind you, the porch swing remains quiet under its single bulb. The work jacket returns to its peg, where the canvas keeps a trace of outdoor coolness and the smell of rope, pine, and lake air. You lower the lamp until the room becomes dimmer, leaving one warm shade near the chair and a faint blue-grey window beside it. The fan continues softly. The screen door holds still. The blanket waits across the chair, smooth, dry, and warm beneath your hand. You settle back into the chair, and the cushion holds you with the same easy shape it keeps at the beginning of the evening. The remaining lamp rests low across the braided rug, while the corners soften and the window becomes almost dark. Cool air touches one side of your face, the blanket warms your hands, and the room smells of cotton, coffee, pine boards, and the lake beyond the screen. The fan turns at its steady pace. Outside, the ferry stays tied beneath its few warm lights, though the trees now hide nearly all of the landing. Water continues along the dock. Reeds move lightly. The room holds a mild warmth around your shoulders, while the window keeps its cool edge and the air carries spruce, damp earth, and clean cloth. Your breathing remains easy as the lamp rests lower. The sounds spread farther apart, and the quiet keeps gathering near the screen.